The following is a conversation with Amy Melendrez, a theater actress and singer from Los Angeles, California. Amy and I talk about her impressive acting education from USC and England, her appearance in Spring Awakening and In the Heights, her thoughts on body positivity in the age of social media, as well as being cast in Glasspirits' music video, Mexican Baby. Afterwards, we'll have a special friend, Coco from San Diego, to join us on our new after-show segment called Music Retrospective. For those just tuning in to Pepe and Ybra for the first time, I'm Pepe, aka Joanna Glass, and Ybra, aka Abe Perez, is my bandmate, and we are professional musicians in a two-piece rock band called Glasspirits. This podcast is going to have guests who are professionals in the music and entertainment business. They're going to provide some tips, discuss issues within the music industry, and talk about their creative process. Our current schedule will be to publish each episode every week. We have all the episodes filmed and in the can, so you'll definitely get an episode every week. If we get a positive response, we'll have a second season, so make sure you like, comment, rate, and review this podcast. The theme of this season is Voyager, as many of our guests have come from all over the world, and some of them are even transplants from across the country. But the voyage doesn't have to be physical. Many of them have had emotional and spiritual voyages as well. We have some very quick announcements. We won't always have sponsors, but when we do, we'll read their messages at the beginning of the episode so that the conversation is not interrupted. Do you love to sing? Do you wish you could hit those higher notes with more ease or hold them longer? Do you wish your voice wouldn't get tired after belting? Do you wonder how you can step to the next level and get ready for your band's next gig or recording? So, if you're looking to improve your singing, then look no further than Valle Vocal Studios. Vocal coach Laura Valle has over 20 years' experience in the music industry as a performer, producer, and vocal instructor with a passion to figure out each individual vocal challenge. I called Laura 13 years ago and told her about my former background in music and my goals, that I wanted to improve my range and only had a limited amount of time to practice. Fortunately, she was very flexible and didn't enforce a rigid curriculum. She would listen to my voice, diagnose problems like a doctor, and, with practice, I immediately noticed smoother transitions between different ranges and tones. I am really fortunate to have found a teacher who is technical, flexible, and encourages creativity. 13 years later, I am more confident about my singing, especially in my band Glasspirits, so I definitely recommend Laura S. Valle. You can find more information about the lessons at www.vallevocalstudios.com and call Laura for a phone consultation. Tell them that Pepe and Ybra sent you and get 50% off your first lesson. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, give it 5 stars, and leave a good review on Apple Podcast. Support us on Patreon, and connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or our website, pepeandybra.com. Now, without further ado, here is our conversation with Amy Melendrez. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Pepe and Ybra podcast. This is Pepe, aka Joanna Glass from the rock band Glasspirits. And today we have a special guest. She is such an accomplished academic, someone who serves her local community, has a heart of gold, is beautiful on the inside and out, and the star of our upcoming music video for Mexican Baby. This is the one who has, according to her, the resting happy face or resting joy face. This is Amy Melendrez. Hi, Amy.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, thanks so much for coming on. I know you're so busy. Oh my gosh. Well, I know we'll talk about it, but you're just doing so many things. So thank you for fitting us on your schedule. Yeah, it's been such a crazy year. I know we have occasionally spoke about updates about the video and things going on and other kind of like business activities, but yeah, it's been probably about a year since I have seen you and Emmett, our other actor from the music video. And it's been such a trip because when we started filming the music video, in the middle of it, when I had booked studio space to finish the second half of filming, the pandemic happened and things started to close down. And so we had to kind of change gears, and so much has happened since then. How have you been, by the way?
Good. I've been holding up, and obviously the last year has just been a roller coaster of like ups and downs for sure. But I'm on the up at the moment, so
Yeah, and that's good to see. You're always such a positive person, and I am in Long Beach, and my bandmate is in La Puente, and luckily at the time we had auditions, you were working in Long Beach,
Mhm.
and you were able to make the audition for Mexican Baby, which was awesome. But so now you're in LA or have been living in LA. Can you, I know you were born in LA. Can you tell us a little bit about, your upbringing and I guess how you developed this passion and desire to be an actress?
Yeah. So I was born and raised just outside of LA, in the suburbs. It's still LA County though, so I count it. But yeah, I remember I was in my first play in fourth grade, and it was a small little like I'm pretty sure one of the teachers wrote it because it's not a well known play at all. But I caught the bug, as they say. I loved telling a story and entertaining people, and I never stopped. I feel like a lot of people when they're young say that they want to be an actor, or an actress, or a movie star, but it's something that I've legitimately just kept pursuing. I never let go of that dream. Not the movie star part, but the acting for sure. And then college came around, and I remember I wanted to go to the East Coast very badly. I said anywhere
Mm,
but Southern California, and I
mm.
ended up going to the University of Southern California. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was so fun, and I pursued acting and psychology there. And after I graduated, I just kind of kept going with both. So, and a year out of that, you and I met and filmed the video, and then COVID hit. So,
Yeah. Oh man. And now if we can just take a step back.
yeah.
Now, I know you double majored in acting and psychology, but did you sign up for both at the same time, or you signed up for one thing and then you're like, "Oh, I might as well do the other." Like, what was the process?
I actually applied to college undeclared, which I
Oh.
think was, yeah. I think I knew I wanted to pursue acting, but I was scared to admit it to
Mm.
parents or to, a school and be let in with that in mind, if that makes sense. So every school I applied to was undeclared. But USC made you choose, like, oh, if you're undeclared, what are you interested in? And I checked both of those
Mm.
off. And when they accepted me, they said, like, we accepted you as a psych major. So I automatically had to take psych classes. And I remember thinking, like, oh, if I don't like it, I'll drop it. But I loved it. And all my electives were theater classes, every single one. Anything that wasn't a requirement, I was doing acting or theater. And a semester in, I said, at this rate, I might as well get a degree out of it if I'm spending so much time on it and using up all my classes for it. So by the end of my first year, I was double majoring.
Mm. I love that story because it's kind of like your soul or your body just like subconsciously choosing what your heart desires in a
Mm-hmm.
way. And then it kind of an opportunity comes up where you just kind of like committed to a degree.
Yeah.
I know, like, I loved music and I started playing the violin in the third grade. And I know you started plays in the fourth grade. And I didn't know that I wanted to be serious about pursuing music as a career, and probably until senior year of high school. And so I know you mentioned earlier you've had your heart set on it, but as you know, in like academic life, you were saying you were kind of didn't want to mention it. And I personally had the pressure of my parents, or especially my dad, wanting me to be an engineer because he was an engineer, and then my sister is a computer engineer. And so there was a lot of conflict with that. So even though like you've made that declaration through declaring your major, when was there a specific point where you're like, I want to do acting, like, you know?
Yeah, for me, it was also high school that I seriously felt it, I guess, in my heart that I really, really wanted to pursue it. And yeah, I'd be lying if I said that my parents weren't a huge aspect of me maybe holding back a bit at first. They're very supportive now, but I know they were very much of the mindset of if you're going to college, you can't just study the arts. You have to have something else too, which I think is why I applied everywhere and declared. But as soon as I started taking those classes at USC, I knew, and they're full force at USC. They're like, this is how you get an agent. This is how you do your resume. This is how your headshot should be. So very quickly, it was something that felt very tangible and very real, and I loved it. So definitely at my time there.
Yeah, that's great that you went to a legitimate acting program and had that experience. And I think I kind of mentioned this. Maybe I'll take this out of the podcast because it's so embarrassing. I kind of mentioned it lightly to you and Emmett at the start of the music video, or maybe around casting, that like when there was a point where I was unemployed and I was like, you know what? Like, let's just try acting for a little bit, you know? I mean, like, I just had so much free time. And so, but I just, looking back, it wasn't serious. Like, I took headshots at this place in Hollywood and they made it everything fuzzy and my skin looked really clear. And, and then like I did all these, you know, kind of, like embarrassing auditions.
That could be its own episode of just like weird audition stories.
Yeah. And yeah, there's just so much to know and so much to learn, but in the small time like I did it and I was on set and I was like the actor, you know, I was like in the background, but like the fact that it seemed almost futile if you're like a background person to keep pursuing it. But then there's this one project where I just kept showing up while everyone else stopped showing up, and they're like, okay, we'll promote you to Asian person number 3. And yeah, and they were so nice. And it's also a field that rewards perseverance. And so yeah, I mean, so, and that's what you have. So yeah, I also thought an interesting part of your journey was that you had this desire to explore the world, even though you felt like you were still in Southern California. It looks like you studied abroad, or was this during USC or after USC?
Yeah, it was during USC. Studying abroad was a dream that I'd always had since I think middle school. I knew that most colleges have a study abroad program, and it's something I really, really wanted to do. And I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to, because both psychology and theater both use up so many credits that my advisors were like, you won't have time to study abroad. They actually told me that I probably wouldn't double major in 4 years, and I was able to do all 3. So little shout out to my time management. But yeah, I definitely went into college knowing that I wanted to spend a semester in a different country. And the theater school at USC partners with a theater school in London. You have to audition to be accepted, but I auditioned, I applied, I was accepted, and I got to spend close to 4 months, I think, studying drama in London, which was amazing. Like one of the best parts of college for sure.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so amazing. And I have a somewhat similar story. I studied abroad on my last year of undergrad over at Cal State Long Beach. And because yeah, like you said, we were, a lot of colleges are sister schools with universities abroad. So Cal State Long Beach had options of being paired with about 3 different ones in England. They were trying to stick me in some other university. I'm like, no, I want to go to Bristol. I kept like fighting for it. And then, and so finally, like, I got to go to Bristol for a year. I think I partied too hard. And then, but however, I do remember some fond memories that in Cal State Long Beach, the academic setting was more casual. Maybe some students strolled in, in sweats and a hoodie, and that's fine, as long as you're able to do well in class. And I would say students in Cal State Long Beach, as smart and brilliant as they could be, are more reticent in their response to teachers or in their relationships. Whereas like I went to Bristol, a teacher asked a question and everyone raised their hand, just everyone, and except me. and I'm just like sitting there like looking around going, wow, it's great. There's a certain, I'm not making a generalization for their whole educational system, but yeah, there's a certain seriousness that I sensed. So in terms of acting in your acting school, what was it like and how does it compare with your USC program?
Yeah, so I can't speak to the education because I was specifically at a drama school, which is education in itself, but it was more training versus like sitting in a classroom with a teacher. But we were put into groups of 10 and you were with those 10 people all day, every day for all your classes. And having such a small class size was amazing and so beneficial. You really got like personalized instruction and feedback from your professors. But that being said, I was studying theater and acting. It was all day. It was 9 to 5 class. We had classes on like dramatic analysis. They took us to see shows and then we would talk about them in class the next day. Like we had a whole class on critiquing plays and shows. We had like 8 different acting classes, things that I didn't even know existed. We learned stage fighting, like so many different things that weren't necessarily available here in the States. They're also so knowledgeable about Shakespeare and the classics because that's so valued in London because it happened in London.
Yeah.
And like that's where Shakespeare lived and performed. So it was awesome to get that kind of training from people so close to where everything happened. And on top of that, what I noticed about just the culture of London in general was that they really value the arts. Theater was maybe £10 a ticket, which translates to like 15, 20 bucks. I think the most I ever paid was $50. And here, a standard theater show is maybe like 100 for a cheap seat. So it was very accessible over there.
Right.
And I know when I would just like make conversation with people and I'd say I'm a drama student, they looked at me so differently. They thought that was the coolest thing. They thought being an actor was so valuable. Whereas here, especially in LA, like people are like, oh, you're trying to be an actor. Okay. That was a huge difference.
Stand in line.
Yeah. They're like, so was the last person in the Uber.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, a lot of American movies nowadays, or this has been happening for a while, they get a lot of actors from England, from all kinds of different schools. Like, for example, like I lived in Bristol, so there was like the Old Vic, and that's where, Sir Patrick Stewart and Olivia Colman and Sir Daniel Day-Lewis, and also Antonia Thomas, who's in The Good Doctor show that Emmett's in. So, I mean, yeah, it's such a country with so much culture, But yeah, that's amazing. I mean, did you go to the Globe Theater? Did you get that chance to do that, or?
So the Globe actually closes for a period of time every year, which I didn't know before I went. But it opened back up the week after I left. So I was a little bummed about that. But I got to go outside it. I got to see it from the outside. And I think the reason they do that is weather, because it's an open outdoor theater, and the weather's just not very cooperative over there.
Yeah. Do you have a British accent? Or have you or like when you're working, studying there, when you acted, did you have to act in a British accent,
They
or?
did not teach us that at all, which was I found very interesting. I think because
Oh.
they're like, we're going to focus on your acting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think that might be interesting. In your group of 10, were you like, was it international, or were you in mixed in with the UK students?
So it actually was all US students, but we were all from different schools, different parts of the country.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, but all our teachers were British, living in London, working actors. And they
Mm.
brought in some really cool people for like master classes once a week.
Ooh, okay. And then that, I like how you mentioned that in the UK that there's more access and that the arts is highly valued. And while it's valued here, maybe I'm just a little biased in feeling the bit of disenfranchisement, but I feel like STEM is like, which is important, is takes a huge precedence. And so when the pandemic happened, a lot of the arts programs really suffered. I mean, they're kind of in the back burner anyway, but yeah, when that happened, a lot of things shut down. You know, for every venue, it's not just the actors, it's, you know, the food vendors, the cleaning people, and it was just really terrible. And so a lot of people, actors especially, you know, might have felt hopeless. So I was just, you know, I was just wondering, what did you do to stay productive?
Yeah, that's a great point you're making. I specifically consider myself a stage actor more than anything. And that was definitely hard hit because there's no way to really social distance that. You have the audience, you have the crew backstage, you have the actors on stage, you're rehearsing. I definitely think we were one of the hardest hit. And there's a study somewhere that says in New York, all the restaurants around Broadway have suffered greatly because they were getting their revenue from people coming to see the shows as well. So it's a
Mm.
huge industry. But to get back to your question, I for sure was feeling very down when it first happened, especially like I just said, being in this industry where there's no really opening date in sight, even back then. And to hear that Broadway, like the center, the highest level of theater, shut down, it made me lose some hope as to when the stuff over here will open, when the smaller
Mm.
scale theaters will open, and when I'll be able to do that again. There was a lot of sadness at the beginning for sure, but one thing that I started doing was going back to my piano. I am self-taught, but I can only do some chords. I can't really like play. But I got back to that. I started working on my chords, and that was super fun and very therapeutic because I started singing songs. I play the chords to accompany myself as I'm
Mm.
singing. But I noticed I was singing songs literally just for fun, like for me to enjoy, like to have fun singing and to learn something. Whereas before the pandemic, it was always for something, for a show, for an audition, for a callback. The music I was working on had a goal in mind. Whereas once everything shut down and didn't have any auditions, it was really interesting to see me sing for me and for my own emotions. That was one of the biggest things I did in the pandemic to stay busy, but just being creative at all, reading, going back to an instrument, just anything to get those muscles moving.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's a great way to stay positive, and it sounded like you did kind of allow yourself to feel the sadness. I think that's, you know, important to acknowledge it and have that dose of reality, but then like you said, you allowed yourself to do things for fun when before, you know, you were kind of doing things for other means. And so yeah, it seems like this has been a time for a lot of people to shift gears, and that's how we came up with having this podcast, because a lot of bands, and especially us, we're starting to do these live streamed performances and acoustic gigs online. And so we've had to like get the equipment, we've had to like figure things out and have proper lighting and, things we weren't really prepared to do. And luckily, it's kind of becoming more accepted, until everything's safe and people can go out and watch shows again. I actually don't mind doing this. And, this podcast has been really interesting. I think I mentioned to you off camera that it's been a nice way for me to socialize with, my music peers and do it in a safe way. And still, it's productive for us and our guests. So this is a music productivity podcast. And, you're an actress and also like our musical guest who does musical and theater. So, but our audience would be interested in how you recorded your participation in Spring Awakening. Like when you told me a little bit about it, like, and I was asking, how are you guys doing this? And it sounded like a really interesting process. So yeah, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I've been in / am working on 2 virtual productions. And the setup has been very similar. For sure, we needed our backdrops. Actually, I'll start with, it's a lot of prep work. It's a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of planning, both on the director's end and on the actor's end. What's interesting about these productions is that they were written as theater pieces, as stage pieces, not as films. But in making them virtual, it's kind of merging the format of theater and film. And something that now has to be planned out is, where exactly are you looking for every single line? Like, is the person going to be in the screen on the right of you or on the left of you? Because you're not physically with anyone you're working with.
Yeah, continuity, right. Yeah.
So, like, literally, where is the box going to be on the computer? And are you looking up? Are you looking down? Who's where? A lot of planning, a lot of prep work with that. For scenes, we pretty much have been recording all together on a Zoom call, and you have it playing in your ear, which is very interesting because you're hearing yourself saying your own lines. You're hearing someone talking, but there's no one in the room with you. You just have to know, like, this person was going to be on my right, this person was going to be on my left. So who are you reacting to? Who are you talking to? But it's pre-recorded in your ear. And we send in our video and our audio, and they edit it all together. So that was the primary way of filming scenes. And then a lot of our music has just been on a microphone through different programs, and those we lip sync those.
Yeah, I mean, even though the pandemic is terrible, I'm so happy to hear that there are, solutions, and that we have the technology to at least attempt these and try to make something and be productive, and that's great, because maybe 10 years ago something like this would not be possible. It would be very difficult, and not everyone had a webcam and a microphone. So that's awesome for our listeners who are wondering, whether they are striving to be a musician or a singer or in theater or an actor. Nowadays, what do you need? What kind of tools? Like a good webcam. I know you have a ring light, obviously Zoom.
Yes. I definitely think the ring light is the most important. Either the ring light or some other good form of lighting. I think it's difficult to rely on a window for all your lighting, for sure. Because if they can't see you, they're not going to cast you, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Backdrops are also starting to be more popular, especially in like the productions I'm in, where they want a very uniform look. One show requested for us all to have gray backdrops, and another one wanted us all to have, I believe, a green screen. So backdrops are becoming more and more necessary for things like that. My biggest tip is as much lighting as you can, and I would also invest in a microphone. That's a new purchase for me, but I'm getting a lot of use out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear the audio and it sounds great. Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned green screen, because in our film production class, it can, depending on the application, you have to light it pretty well, because if you have those shadows in your green screen, then it's hard to make that outline. But yeah, no, that's pretty important to have like a decent background. No one wants to see like your pets in the background. It's just so unprofessional. And for anyone who's watching the YouTube version, I have here, like behind me, just a cloth that I pinned to a cork board. And, that's my messy brainstorming I like to
Yeah,
do.
put a
But
sheet up on a wall. It works
yeah,
too.
yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive, so, but it makes a huge difference in your production value. So, yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. So it looks like you've had so much experience with different types of art. And, I know we kind of earlier talked about the genesis of your desire to act. If you wouldn't mind sharing, something, a hard lesson you've learned. Like, for example, I've said to another guest that in the beginning of my career I didn't trust myself enough, and just the more I became experienced and more self-assured, yeah, the more confident I became. And if I was more confident earlier on, if I can tell my younger self, like, just believe in yourself, I would have had made more progress. So what is something you'd like to share about a hard lesson as an artist?
Yeah, I think, and this is going to sound so cheesy, but a big lesson that I've learned through this process is to just be yourself. I know that's super cliche, but there's literally no one else like you. You have unique perspectives that you can bring into your work. The same song can be sung by 5 different girls, and they will all bring something completely different to it.
Mm.
And on that same vein, you're never going to please everyone. You can give the best performance, you can win an Oscar, and there's still going to be people who are like, she didn't do this right, or I didn't like how she did this. And so, like, if there's always going to be someone that doesn't like it or doesn't like you might as well just do what you want to do and bring your own little special special thing to whatever art you're making. And on that same vein, an analogy that I learned back in college was that casting, which I know you're a music podcast, but I feel like
Yeah.
this could apply to being picked
Yeah.
up by a label or maybe audience. But casting, they compared it to shopping for ice cream. And they're saying a director really wants vanilla ice cream for this role. But you go to the grocery store and there's Haagen-Dazs and there's Ben and Jerry's and there's Dryers, and they're all vanilla ice cream and they all taste really good, but the director will have, one vanilla ice cream that's the one they were craving. That doesn't mean that the other ones don't taste good. That doesn't mean that, they're not. And so that's a big metaphor for like artists as well. Like, you can all do a good job at preparing something, but you might not get picked, but that doesn't mean that you're any less good or less valued.
Yeah, and I mean that's important, is to not take things personally. It's just, whoever's casting, they just have a certain vision in mind on who they think is the best person. And nowadays, I'm glad to be seeing, and I know it can always be improved upon, more inclusion. And I believe that happens when casting for inclusion happens from higher above, from a director, a writer saying it, and or a producer, and nowadays a lot of people in studios, execs, like, know that there's a demand for it. Like, I hate to say it, but like, whether or not it's really genuine, their intention to have a more diverse cast, there's definitely at least an economic desire for it, and a need. People love shows that have a diverse cast. And I love seeing, like, for me, someone who is similar to me, because I can relate with them. And so when you're going out for roles, what has been your experience with, being Latina, and what was that like?
So this is a fun question. And I think it's very necessary to talk about. Honestly, when I was starting college, so probably 5, 6 years ago, I vividly remember being told multiple times, not in these words, but like that I had to look more white, like less ethnic, like consider changing your last name. Try to
Mm.
make your features as light, as Anglo as possible so that you can get cast. And by the time I graduated college, that was not a thing anymore. It was like, we want diversity, we want minorities, we want you to be, you know, more more ethnic. So it's interesting to see that flip in just a matter of years. Um, that being said, I am a lighter skinned Latina. I look Latina, like I'm not white passing in any means, but I don't fully look or sound the way that a lot of, honestly, like a stereotypical Latina looks and sounds like on TV, especially a couple of years ago, maybe not so much now. But I've been told that I'm not Latina enough, that I don't look ethnic enough for certain roles. And I've also been on the flip side where they say that I look too ethnic, or I don't look like, you know, the rest of the family that I'm being cast with. So I think I think we're still on a learning curve. I think we're making progress, but it's been challenging to navigate that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that must be quite frustrating to try to, when when you not necessarily specifically you but when an actor is just trying to find their place. I know eventually there's typecasting and whatnot, but like even within like the Latina or genre, there's ambiguity. And it kind of reminds me of one of the actresses from back in the day, Rita Hayworth. She was born Margarita Carmen Hayworth.
I
And
just
so,
learned this last week. Like someone told me that she was not white, and I was like, "What?" So
yeah.
I love that you're bringing her up too.
Oh, yeah, that's really serendipitous that we're
Yeah.
mentioning this. But yeah, and I can understand like my birth name is hard to spell, hard to pronounce, and so I can understand kind of maybe changing things so you're more commercially viable, if people can remember your name. And I can see that. But yeah, I think looking back, they did this with so many actors, and I feel like it's a shame. It's almost like an erasure in a way of culture, because yeah, even you're Latina, and you didn't even have that realization that she that they did that or
Mhm.
pressured her to do that. So I mean, in this industry, sometimes we're given advice that may or may not be helpful, and it might be difficult to manage that, and you have to make decisions. Is this going to help me catapult to success fast, or is it better to go in this route even though it's more difficult? I mean, what have your mentors or peers suggested in terms of being cast, or just do you work as much as possible, or are you wanting to be picky so you can find a specific Latina role? Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I like that you asked that because, to be honest, very few of my mentors, I'm trying to think through them, making sure I don't miss one, but I do have mentors. I don't think any of them are Latina women. So like I have talked to them about this, but just now when you're asking, I'm like, but they're not coming from even the same place that
Mm.
I am. Um they very much suggest like take what you can get, which I think is very valid as an up and coming actor. You can't afford to be too picky, but there are a handful of times that I've chosen not to submit for something or turn something down if it's written in a way that makes me uncomfortable, if I feel like we're being portrayed in a negative light. I don't want to be a part of projects like that, and I'm willing to put that aside. Yeah, it's more important for me to have some sense of choice of over how I'm portrayed versus just like exposure for the sake of exposure. That being said,
Yeah.
like I'm not saying all Latinos have to be like good characters all the time. Like there's a time and place, but I know there are I've gotten a couple scripts that border on offensive. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was told in my film program that if you are this is kind of like a flaw in the industry, but if you do want to cast a Latina character or any other kind of minority, you have to put it in the script. Otherwise, there's almost like this default to cast white.
For
So,
sure. I've seen that a lot. There's because you get casting breakdowns as an actor, you get to read through them, and I tend to submit for anything, especially if it doesn't say an ethnicity. But I really like the ones that go out of their way to say like any ethnicity is encouraged to apply or any race is encouraged to apply. Because I have noticed when it's not specified, it is usually like a white character or white person.
Okay, so I've always wanted to ask someone, like when I've done some auditions and there's someone on the side that reads the script to me, and then it's always been like this person that's so monotone, so like dead. I just wanted to, like, part of me just wanted to be like, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, come on, like, pucker up or something. Like, come on. Like, is that intentional?
I think for some people it's intentional, because it's a different skill to be able to still act at 100% when the person's giving you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know a lot of times casting offices, they're not filled with actors, they're filled with people who want to cast. So the person reading with you is just like an intern or another casting director who is literally just reading the lines for you. So I have
Okay.
seen that.
Okay, that makes sense. So I take that back to whatever intern I was making fun of. Okay. And yeah, you know, um earlier when you were talking about like your upbringing and that desire to be an actor um and not necessarily a movie star, because I guess nowadays there's so much awareness about the dangers of celebrity and social media, and the how it can warp a person's mind and self-perception. So I was just wondering, like, how do you feel as an actor kind of in this era of being really self-aware of your image and navigating that through Instagram? Like, what is real, and maybe like what is stereotyped, and I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how social media has come into the world and taken over kind of the industry. And it's on some level, it equalizes the playing field. Like, I could send a tweet and Obama could read it, or like, Anne Hathaway, like someone cool could just see me tweet about them. Um, at the same time, on a more personal level, it is more difficult. I think comparison is huge, and it's been said over and over, but people just post the good things. Like when I wasn't working, when I wasn't booking stuff, especially at the beginning of COVID, I wasn't posting every day saying like, don't have work today, still don't have work. But like right now I'm in a show, I'm promoting it, and you see that, and it's very easy to say like, how come I'm not working and she has a project? But again, like I went through months where I was not involved in a show like that. So it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned, there's two sides of the quilt. The one, that Instagram is in a way a highlight reel, and sometimes when we compare ourselves to someone's highlight reel, we forget that there's, possibly suffering or non-activity on the other side of it. And what I'm really liking nowadays is that a lot of the young pop stars or young celebrities, they are outspoken, proud, will call people out on whatever kind of ableism or racism or misogyny, and or other kind of pressures that they're feeling. Um, because I was born in the mid 80s. So in the 90s, or when I was young, we had magazines, we had radio and TV. We didn't have social media where young celebrities had control of their image and could release and express themselves. So I mean, what do you think about that? Or is there anyone out there who you think is like a good example of maybe talking about mental health or these pressures people go through?
Yeah. So I feel like for a long time, celebrities were discouraged from being political or aligning themselves a certain way or talking about certain things. But because they have these platforms and this ability to, in a way, control their own image and their own narrative on social media for the most part, I am seeing people start to use that in very productive ways. One of my favorite artists is Halsey, and in the last year, she has spoken about her miscarriage, her attempts at like trying to get pregnant. She's spoken a lot about mental health, made it almost normalized it in a way, made it okay to talk about and less taboo. And if you want to get political, she also used her platform to do a series of interviews with Bernie Sanders. And in the intro to those, she talks about how her demographic is younger. It's like teens and maybe people in their 20s for the most part. And she talks about how she's lucky enough to have this audience of people on Instagram that will listen to whatever she puts out there. And so she wanted to use that, instead of like posting a selfie, which is cool too. We all like to post selfies. She's like,
Oh yeah.
I'm going to be uploading these videos and I hope you guys watch them. And they each had a different theme, like talking about a different issue. And I thought that was a really awesome way to use, social media and to use your platform for good.
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, I haven't uh I know that's kind of my fault for not getting into her music and what she does, but yeah, her alongside with Demi Lovato and all these singers, I just really love how strong they are, and kind of, yeah, normalizing this talk about mental health, um and pressures that they have. I mean, because like a lot of them talk about eating disorders and just like the pressure to be thin. And I've definitely had, there was a point where I was like a lot thinner. And everyone goes through what they need to go through, and I'm at a pretty good stage of just like accepting myself and just being pretty happy, and because my mental health is more important. But yeah, with regards to Instagram, I did see you did this one post. Now, if this is too embarrassing, we can cut this out.
You're
But
good.
you did this one post. It was like this. You're like at the beach in a bikini, and you're like, "Oh, sorry, I should have pulled up and read the caption." But it was all about like body positivity,
Mm.
and I guess maybe please correct me if I'm wrong. Was there like weight loss before, or was there?
Yeah, so I love this topic. I can talk about it forever.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed or anything, but I my freshman year of high school, I lost about 50 pounds.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
in 1 year. Yeah, yeah, it was a lot in a short period. It was healthy. It was good. I was just eating better and exercising, which sounds super cheesy. That being said, in my past, in high school especially, I did have my fair share of eating disorders. So I know what's healthy and what's not. But having that happen was like night and day, especially in society. Like the way I was treated just on the street was so different. And that's why it's easy to look at me at my size and be like, oh, like you know, she looks normal. She doesn't know what it feels like, but I've definitely had like fat phobic comments made at me. And even as I was losing the weight, so many comments and compliments, which are nice, but at the same time, like, what if I was being unhealthy? That would have just perpetuated it further. So I'm a huge advocate for the body positivity movement, for Demi Lovato. Love her. But because of that, I've had a lot of like body dysmorphia, which for those of you that don't know is when you look in the mirror, you see something different than what's actually there. And for my whole life, basically, I was too embarrassed to wear a bikini. Like I thought, and this is getting very personal, but I think I say it on the post, I felt like I wasn't worthy enough to wear one. Like I didn't have a good enough body to put one on, which is so harmful and so wrong. Like I think anyone could do it. I wish I could go back and tell my high school self, like, put on that bikini. And yeah, the first time I did that was my senior year of college. And I remember being so scared getting to the beach that day and like taking off my little cover up. And then nothing happened. Literally nothing happened, which was like, I guess in my head, I was like, the world's going to explode. Everyone's going to stare. It's going to be crazy. And no one cares. No one cares what you look like in a bikini at the beach. Also, everyone's probably thinking about how they look. But yeah, I put that post up because that picture was taken on that day that I wore one for the first time. And yeah, I think it just needs to be normalized that everyone, especially for girls, go through these struggles. And I see that changing. I see a lot of progress being made in that area of society, I guess. But I think, especially growing up, it would have been awesome if I had seen, you know, more normal looking bodies.
Wow,
Sorry, that was a lot to just blurt out there.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that story. You know, there's so much to it. It's our peers. It can, you know, we get influence from magazines and social media and, you know, just anything. You know, or whatever kind of conditioning we get from our parents or family. And yeah, that pressure is definitely there, and it can be so detrimental to a young woman's self-esteem. And I remember in high school, I wasn't really thin, but I was like normal slash thin ish. I don't want to like put any like value assessment on my
and also
body.
like what is normal, because
yeah, sorry. So I mean,
size is like 14, 16.
yeah, I mean, it's just I mean, I guess relative to now, to how I am now. So someone sent my mom a video of me playing violin in high school, and then my mom sent it to me, and then I was completely shocked, like how much thinner I was. I didn't recognize myself. Because at the time when I was in high school, I thought I was fat, you know, and yeah, I would have just loved. I like freaked out. So in relating to what you mentioned earlier about body dysmorphia, I definitely had that, and I talked to like my friends from high school, and I was like, and they're like, yeah, I felt that too, and all of us at the same time were like, we would have loved to, you know, have our high school bodies back. But
I had so many friends say that, like, looking back at the thinnest picture of themselves, they remember at that time thinking that they were still not thin enough. I think we all have done that, which is crazy.
And that's why, you know, kind of coming back to what we've been talking about, it's just so important that we speak out on these pressures and these, you know, expectations versus reality. The Me and Also Me posts, those are so helpful and nice. And yeah, and it kind of also goes along with the diversity and inclusion, that you have people of all different sizes represented in film and TV. So I know that you're so accomplished in the academic world and things you do for the community, and you know, especially in education and working with special needs children. I would really love to hear some of your experience.
Yeah, so I've worked with children pretty much my whole life. Like I remember being in middle school and like going back to volunteer at the elementary school. That level of just always working with children, but I'm pretty new to the field of autistic children specifically. I'm only a couple months in, but it is easily one of the most rewarding, amazing jobs I've ever had. It's amazing to see progress happen right before your eyes. And the bond that you get with your child is
Oh.
so special. Or children, I have a couple children, but it's so special, and it's opened my eyes. I've had to do a lot more research. I mean, we got trained, but I've also done a lot of research on my own. Even that is changing. Like we're making so much progress. Like terminology is changing, and how we look at the autistic community and how they're portrayed, hopefully, is changing. That Sia movie was definitely a little sidestep, but yeah, it's been very enlightening for sure.
Yeah, I mean, how has your experience so far helped with your understanding about neurodiverse people?
Honestly, I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous going in, just because I didn't have a lot of experience with that community. And it wasn't because I thought they were bad. It was almost a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like I was like, who am I to come in and work with them? But
Mm.
the biggest takeaway I have is that they are literally just like all the other children. They really are. They have a lot of the same needs. They have a lot of the same wants and desires, and they get upset over very similar things. The way they process things is a little different, but I noticed the similarities more than I noticed the differences.
Mm. Yeah, that's great that you're doing that work, and when I did it for years, I just found it so to be so rewarding. There's definitely yeah, there's definitely challenges, and but for the most part, I look back on that time with such fond memories, and it's taught even though like I've taught certain like life skills, life management and daily skills, like it's kind of taught me about a lot about life and patience and kind of understanding emotions. And I guess my question to you is, does that experience kind of affect your understandings, or access to your own emotions? Because I can imagine maybe that's useful to you as an actor.
100%. It's funny. I've told my roommates that I think even neurotypical adults could benefit from some of the things that I'm doing with the children. For example, after a tantrum happens, I sit with them and I say, like, what were you feeling? Like, what happened? What were you feeling? What did you do? And what could you do differently next time? And it's funny, I've started thinking in that same process, both to myself and also kind of with other people. When I see them get upset, I'm like, oh, they were feeling this, so they did that. And I mean, I don't ask them in those words necessarily, but I I think and anyone could benefit from that kind of thought process. And I've definitely taken that into my acting a little bit as well, like trying to dive deeper into why you act a certain way.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that you mentioned some really good points. I just I'm just really impressed that you're able to do so many things and work on so many different fields. And so now going back to kind of like how we met, we did put out the casting call. You answered. You're working downtown in Long Beach, and very close to the, well, not next door, but reasonably close to the casting location. And I was so glad you made it. And the funny thing about the music video Mexican Baby, and by the way, for our audience, Glasspirits has a song Mexican Baby, and we shot the music video with Amy and our other guest on the show, Emmett Preciado. I was pretty confident in our choice with you, but the one thing that made me nervous is that the casting calls were also like meant to be chemistry reads, and you did read with another actor. Well, at that event, well, he does act, but he was meant to kind of assist with the casting, and so we just stuck him in there with you. It all worked out, and the only thing I got nervous about. I was like, oh man, I hope like her and Emmett have not met and there's not a lot of time, and they're just gonna meet on this wardrobe fitting. Like, I hope they at least here they can get to know each other and be comfortable. And but yeah, it turns out things went well. I remember the day of the wardrobe fitting, you guys had, I was at the building and you guys had run into each other on the street, or at least you saw him. And then you can just tell he's like an actor. He had all these clothes with him.
All these clothes in his hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was, oh my gosh, this is like kind of like my fault. I really should have been more present, and this is what happens in like a small budget project. It's usually like people wear multiple hats, and so I was like fidgeting or doing something with a camera, and I was like, okay, you guys like get to know each other. And and then later on, I was just thinking, there's we ran over like some motions and some things that were staged. Like, we staged certain furniture and just ran a few lines. I was just like, okay, well, it would be helpful for them to just be really comfortable, because the story will sell if people like can really believe they loved each other, or at least the actors liked each other. And so I remember I got you guys in a room to kind of think of the backstory, irrespective of what kind of the plot I told you. Would you mind letting our audience know what happened and what that was like with Emmett?
Yeah, I do remember you literally putting us in this room, this like small room with just glass windows. It was almost like a cubicle kind of. And you were like, all right, I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. Let me know when you're done with your backstory. And you left. And I have social anxiety now and then. And he has told me since then that he gets anxiety too. Oh. And you just stuck us in this room together. And I was like, okay, like, don't be awkward. And it didn't feel awkward at all. We just started talking and coming up with a backstory for the characters, which I'm trying to remember bits and pieces of, but it's been like a year. I think a year this week we were filming, because it was last week of February.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was definitely
your Emmett remembers that like some of the plot, but I guess your character's named Alex.
Yes.
Or okay, yeah. And then I forgot what
I would not have come up with that by myself, but
okay.
I wouldn't have remembered that, but you saying that, I'm like, oh yeah. And his was like Eric.
He did tell me in a previous podcast he wanted to be like Prince Eric from Little Mermaid.
That sounds right.
So yeah, and you guys came up with like a pretty good backstory. If anyone's browsing on their Instagram and wants to put two and two together, this is how Amy and Emmett met, and they have since been a happy couple. And so you'll definitely see it on Instagram if when you check out her socials and stuff. And yeah, I mean, what was the experience like filming that, and how was it like working with Emmett?
Yeah, it felt very comfortable the whole time. I know even the day that we were filming, I think you left us a couple times too to like do return.
I had to return the bikes. Yeah,
things like that. You just left us alone, and which I'm not complaining about, but again, we were like, we have to talk to each other now.
I feel so neglectful.
No, you weren't neglectful. Like, you were doing your tasks. You weren't just off on Instagram or anything. But yeah, we really started talking more, I guess. And yeah, it just felt very comfortable with him, very fun. I remember laughing a lot. And
yeah,
Yeah, you set up really cute, environments for us. So
Yeah, I mean, you guys made it really cute. And like he said, it was almost like little mini dates with no pressure.
kind
And
of, yeah,
so,
because we didn't know we were on them.
and yeah, I remember you guys are on top of the hill, the sun is setting. Oh my God, and it's gorgeous. And I was like filming, it's supposed to be like you two and a silhouette kissing with the sun in the background, and I was going to film it in a way where they're just shadows, so your bodies can just pass without actually having to kiss. But the way the lighting was, it wasn't working, and I was just like, shoot. And then one of you guys, I think it might have been you,
It was
were just like, well, we can just
it
kiss.
was
And
not me, it was Emmett. Emmett suggested it. I
okay.
want that on the record.
Okay. Oh yeah. He did say that. And then I remember he was saying, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to, look like a creep, but but you guys are professional, and both of you were like, I consent. It was like a funny ongoing joke, like for
Mm.
any little thing you did. And that was great. That's important to do and make sure everyone's comfortable. But yeah, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, as long as you guys were down to do that. And so I was filming, like, I think like the first couple takes, they were all good. You guys did a great job, but I believe it was like the third one was like magic. And then and the third one, like, you like pulled him in, and I was like, whoa. And then I was just like, it's so enchanting to me. I was hypnotized, and I just like kept running the camera. And then after you guys stopped, and you looked at me, and you were like, okay, we're done now. I was like, oh, I better like stop this. They're gonna think I'm a perv or whatever. But yeah, and then I showed it to our cinematographer Josh,
Mhm.
and then he was like, that's real, Joe, that's real. And I was like, yeah, it is, isn't it? Like, so yeah, it was it's pretty amazing that we captured your first kiss. So yeah, but other than that, you guys were very professional, and it was such a good time. I really look back at those things fondly. So I remember in our casting call, we were searching for a Latina for this role. And so now you are actually in this amazing, it sounds like from what you're saying, this is going to be like another amazing project that's very important to the Latinx people. Yeah, can you tell us about it, and what it is and what your role is?
Yeah, so my other virtual production is a musical called In the Heights, which came out, I believe, in 2008 on Broadway. I might have the date wrong. I would
Yeah.
fact check that. But it was revolutionary for its time. Before this musical came out, the only real Latinx representation on Broadway on stage was West Side Story, which
Mm.
is a great, story. It's entertaining. It's, I cry at the end of it, but
Yeah.
we're all gang members in that. Like it's,
Mm.
we're going around with guns and shooting people, and also in the movie version of that, fun fact, every actor was white, and they spray painted them all the same shade of brown. Like the makeup
Mm.
artist did that. That's the kind of times we were in. And so In the Heights was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton. That's what he's
Yeah.
most famous for. He wrote In the Heights first and
Oh,
took
okay.
that to Broadway. And it really was revolutionary for how we were viewed in the theater scene. It gave us roles that were very three-dimensional, that were written for Latino people, while at the same time telling a story that's very universal. It's about family. It's about, love. Anyone can see themselves in the characters. It's just that they're written specifically for Latinos. And on top of that, if you're familiar with Hamilton, you'll know it's rap. It doesn't sound like your typical Broadway show tunes. And In the Heights is similar in that he merged very like Latin-based music into
Mm.
the sound recording. So
Yeah, when I was like looking it up, I know they're having a movie come out,
yeah,
and
this summer.
Yeah, and I guess it might have been pushed back because I looked on the date on the description and it said 2020,
It
but
was
I
supposed to
guess
be last summer.
yeah, I guess because of,
Mm.
COVID, they pushed it. So, and it looks amazing. And so I'm really excited for you to be doing, I guess, a virtual production of it. I can't wait to see it. Can you tell us about your role? Are you going to be rapping, singing, dancing? Like, what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so I'm actually playing the character of the mom, which is very interesting for me that I was I remember being called back and saying like I'm too young to do this. I'm gonna be honest, I'm 24 and I think the character of my daughter is supposed to be 18 or 19. So I remember
Mm,
thinking like there's no way I'll get this, but I'll send in my callback anyway and
mm,
they cast me and
mm,
I'm grateful. I'm excited to be tapping into a character that's not a lot like I am. She is
mm,
and she's not. And I think once I got past the initial like, oh, I'm playing someone that's at least a good 10 years older than I actually am, it was easy to get into her mindset. And she's a lot of the voice of reason in the show and a lot of the voice of unity. And I do have one song that I sing, so you will be catching that. And yeah, I'm just really excited
mm.
to dive into that. This is actually my favorite musical, and I have said for years that I would play any single role in it. I would always jokingly
Mm.
say I'd play the grandma because there's a grandma character, but so this
Wow.
was actually me saying I will take any role in this show because I love it. It's very special to
Well,
me.
it sounds like you manifested that in a way. Is there any other kind of things you want to mention going on with you, or any other kind of projects, or anything, or causes, or anything at all?
Well, other than the two virtual musicals, I also was a part of a virtual benefit concert. I helped produce them at first, and they're still going on. I believe they come out every 2 weeks, and that organization is called Broadway Nights on Facebook.
Ooh.
And it's a bunch of singers getting together on Zoom, and it's live streamed. And I've sung in a couple. If you dig really, really far back, you will find some with me singing. But
Oh, okay.
I helped produce the first 10, and we've raised close to 15,000 for an organization called Terrace Chance, which is equine horse therapy for children with special needs. So check out that Facebook page for sure.
Oh, wow. Thanks for mentioning that. That
A
sounds
whole other
like,
topic, but
oh, no, no, that's
promote
great. I
them
mean,
too.
yeah, that's awesome that you're doing that, and that sounds really interesting. Just for our listeners, and especially for me, who's a bit ignorant about equine therapy. So, which kind of students or children does it benefit, and exactly does it work?
Yeah, so the students that are there have all different kinds of special needs, but it functions as a form of physical therapy,
Mm.
um, and a little bit of speech therapy. Like I know,
Hmm.
well, in each concert they kind of talk about a specific student and they share a testimonial, and there are students that weren't speaking, like they weren't verbal, and while they were on the
Mm.
horse they said like giddy up or they said horse, and
Whoa.
it was like the first time their parents had heard them talk ever. And there's others where doctors said like, oh, your spine isn't going to improve or this won't improve, and riding the horse helps them like help their legs function a little better or their back function a little
Mm.
better. And I don't want to butcher any of the names of the like disabilities that the children have because it's a wide range. So,
Okay.
but those concerts are free to view, and the link is usually in the comments to donate if you so wish.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
all donations go to Terrace Chance, which is the organization that runs that therapy.
Okay. What I'll do for when this comes out on YouTube, I'll make sure to reach out to you to get that link so I can put it in the description.
Mm.
So, yeah, awesome. That's great that you're doing that. You've always been doing so much for your community and for those who could use the help. And finally, let me see here. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I am at Amy Melendrez on Instagram and Twitter. And I'm also at amymelendrez.com, www.amymelendrez.com.
Awesome. I mean, it should still work without the www, by the way, but
okay. For that
yeah. So, Amy, you've just been so wonderful. I just thank you so much for taking the time to talk about all these amazing projects, and yeah, to our listeners, thank you for listening.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to our surprise segment. Now it's time for a visit from Madam Pepe.
Welcome to Tarot Time. You can call to me, Madam Pepe, and I am in this place to show you the good fortunes of our guests. What I do, I summon the informations combined with cards and to show you and our guests the learnings. Okay, let's go. Okay, I am going to shuffle. Now, who are we looking for intuition for? Amy Melendrez. Okay, Amy, what can we find for you? Okay, what does the universe have to say? Okay, what is this? The Nine of Pentacles. Wow, this is amazing. Well, what is that to mean? What we are looking at here is a very beautiful young woman with a bird or parrot on her arm, and she is in a garden that is bearing fruit. And remember, pentacles are fortune, prosperity, money, and she looks like she's in peace, that she is in control. And there is a snail in front of her foot, so she is walking in a very peaceful garden. And so it means that, Amy, that you have a lot of discernment, a lot of class, a lot of elegance and beauty. So this is going to be very useful for you. I very much like this card for you, and it looks just like you. Perfect. Okay, so very little people have such talent for your singing and acting and theater. So this represents you so much. If you're listening, I want to suggest that you keep doing what you're doing. You keep being kind, making wise choices, and treating people kindly and with respect the way you have been. Okay, Amy? And a lot of success and prosperity will come to you. Okay? That's it. I enjoy very much bringing good news and fortunes. Thank you for visiting Madam Pepe. Okay, that's it. Very good. See you next time. Bye now.
amymelendrez.com.
This new segment, called Music Retrospective, will explore the songs of Glasspirits. With my co-host, Coco from San Diego, I'll be recounting the experiences I had with the people who have inspired these songs, the song's conception, and the aftermath of letting these people know I wrote a song about them. Many of these stories are very embarrassing, but I hope they give a little insight on the mind of the artist. Coco and I discuss behaviors that stem from anxiety, substance use, actions that can be considered to be maladaptive behaviors, including self-harm. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Pepe and Ybra's new segment called Music Retrospective. It's where we'll be talking about the songs of Glasspirits and the stories and the people behind them. I have with me here a very special guest. She's a musician, a yoga instructor, a crafty person, an all-around creative individual. She is Coco from San Diego.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
very kind.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, thank you so much for, well, first I'll kind of let the audience know. Usually after our guests in an episode, we have an after show where Abe and I talk about our guests or certain things that are happening in our band. And for those of you who have been following our podcast, Abe's wife, Sue, has passed away a few months ago. And so he is still in the process of grieving. And, he has just been burnt out and doesn't want to do the podcast anymore, at least at this point. And so that's absolutely fine, and I respect that. And he started off doing the podcast as a way to distract him at first, but now with certain holidays coming up, have brought back memories of him and his wife, like Valentine's Day, her birthday, and then what will be coming up is Mother's Day and Abe's birthday. So just major events in their lives, which he won't be sharing with her anymore. And it's they've been together for 37 years. So we're all wishing the best for Abe and his grieving, and I hope he can grieve in peace. And so luckily some very good friends have stepped up, and so thanks so much for subbing for Abe and being down to start this new segment with us. In our episode with Marina Harris, we talk about vocal some kind of routines to keep vocalists relaxed. And I told her that for really important gigs, the day before, I give myself an enema. Okay. And I guess this is kind of weird segue relating to poop.
Yes.
Deified.
Okay, it's about poop.
It's not about poop. It's actually, deified is about, the root word is like deity, like a god. And so to deify someone is to make them into a god. And so that's what the song is about, making someone into a god. I know that's really healthy, folks, but I mean, that's,
you're acknowledging it now.
It's infatuation, So I wrote it in music school. I'm not going to give away this person's instrument and what they played, but I wrote it for them, and so I went to and then I was dropping in and out of the violin performance program at Cal State Long Beach, and when I was out of the program, I was enrolled in a commercial music program at Long Beach City College, and I was working on synthesizer drum machine programming, and so I had like this really electronic version of Deified, and it's not that way now with Glasspirits. And so it was, at the time I thought it was really creative, but it was poorly executed, and I was singing it really bad.
Is this the first song you wrote for about someone?
No, it's not. I mean, I've written songs about people since I was 11. Okay. And so I was 18 when I wrote Deified. Oh my gosh. It seems
time flies.
It seems like such a long time ago. This is quite an old song. Yeah, and so so basically I wrote the song, I recorded it with all these synth parts, and then my mic technique wasn't good and I wasn't singing good. It was just kind of almost like a draft in a way. But I was proud of it because I got to show my friends what I've been working on, my friends who were still in that music school. And then I went to the Deified guys. Yeah. I'm actually not gonna say his name, but his music recital. It was either his junior or senior one. I can't remember. So I went to his recital, and people were coming up to me because you tell one person you like someone, everyone just ends up knowing.
Especially,
oh God. And so people were coming up to me and they were like, "Yeah, he's single now. He's single now." And I'm just like, wait a minute, why are you telling me?
Why is everyone telling me?
Yeah. So awful. But anyways,
that's
and
awkward.
So then the friends who I have shown the recording to, they were like, "Oh my God, this is the perfect time to give him your song." And I was like, "No, this is not finished. It's awful."
So you at that time knew that.
I knew it because
Yeah.
I knew because it wasn't finished, it wasn't done, and yeah. So and then they were just like, "You're always gonna want to know what happens. This is like your only opportunity to do this." And I'm like, "Why do I need to do this?"
They're like pressuring you
on like this major junction, this important day of his life. And
like, why do I need to impose myself into that?
So,
Thank you, friends.
And so I ended up like, I'm such a sucker. I just ended up doing it because I thought
It was like a dare, or
well,
what?
no, just people just convinced me that it was such a good idea.
This is a good, normal. This is.
So
these are not very nice people. Was I one of these people?
No. These are you know a couple of these.
Okay,
people.
but I wasn't one of them.
Yeah. So I'll edit this out.
Okay.
It was Sam, Christina, and Vince.
So they were.
Yeah, they had the best intentions,
yeah.
but
They were young too.
they were like no one knew what the fuck they were doing at that time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I go in my car. I get this scratched up CD of the song, and then like I go up to him, and then the first line of the song is, "I love your big blue eyes."
Okay.
And then when I actually now I realize how ignorant I was about him, and I didn't really know him. I go up to him and I'm
you're
like,
he doesn't have blue eyes.
exactly. I go, "What color are your eyes?" And then he's like, "They're green." I'm like, oh.
Well, this isn't about you.
Exactly. And then he like kind of chuckles because it was such a random question, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, it comes out of left field.
Yeah." But it was like the first line of the song,
Yeah.
and I think
And you realized
maybe,
I made a mistake.
yeah. So
Did you change the lyrics or no?
No, I didn't. I just gave it to him as is.
No, I
didn't-
mean no later. No,
no, because it
it
doesn't
go well.
go well. Yeah. So yeah.
But
So
you loved his big blue eyes. But he didn't have like something to listen to it right then, right?
No.
No.
So then, his family was cleaning up the reception of the recital area and stuff, and so, I was going up to them, and I had like the CD, and I was like stuttering. I was like, "Ooh, yeah." And then he just kind of like looked a little confused, and I was like, I finally mustered up to say
Words.
like, "This is like for you."
About
and then
you?
I think I said "for you."
Okay.
And then I kind of like hand it to him like this, like
It's a gift.
like some kind of like bread sacrament.
Yeah,
at
you're like,
church.
he is a deity. I bow down to you.
So, oh my God, is my eye makeup smeared at all?
You're good.
Okay. Good friends tell each other
Yeah, the
if their
truth.
eye makeup is fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, like this one
Without
time.
being asked.
Oh yeah,
Like-
yeah, that's true. One time, like I spent time with a friend, and my eye makeup was all. It was a guy.
Okay.
It was all smeared.
Maybe you like that look. I don't know.
I looked like a fucking raccoon when I saw myself in the mirror. I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And anyways, and he didn't care, but
Yeah.
whatever. Anyways. Okay, so back to the story. I was giving him the
The sacrificial CD.
CD. and then his dad was, I remember his dad was cleaning up in the background, and his dad was chuckling.
Oh.
And it's like his dad knew
What was happening? Like,
yeah, like his dad was like, "Oh, she's giving him a song about him."
Yeah,
It's like he knew. He knew.
He knew. Because what else would she be doing if she's? It's not a mixed CD.
Yeah. And so, and that was it, right? And so then later on, I don't think it was that day. It might have been like another day. I forget all about it, whatever. And so, and then so I go to this party, this house party with at a house with a bunch of musicians there. And so I use the restroom and I take a dump.
Oh.
right?
Wait, whose house is this?
This was just like a
Random.
musician. someone in the program, like,
But
whatever, who cares?
Take a
And
dump.
so I take a dump.
And this is like what is that? Poopy gone or what's
Poopery or whatever. And so yeah, I take a dump, and then as soon as like I leave the bathroom, I see him. He was sitting down. He sees me coming out of the bathroom, and then he walks straight up to me.
Why would he do that?
And then I totally freaked out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God, like, please. I just took a dump. And please do not use the restroom after me. Just please.
Give me something.
Yeah. And then I close the door behind me. I'm like guarding the door. And then he's like, yeah, I listened to the song and it was amazing. And then at that point, like, I wasn't listening to him at all.
Yeah,
I just wanted him. I was thinking about like him smelling my shit. Yeah. That's all I was thinking about. And then I don't know if I was like traumatized or something, because I don't remember saying anything. I might have said like, oh, thanks or something. But I remember guarding the door and looking down and not looking at him.
Well, he's saying it's amazing.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he just like walks away.
He's like, this is weird.
So,
but maybe he didn't even think the song was about him because his eyes are green. So,
that's true.
So he just thought you were listening. Like, you're like, here's a song I wrote. Can you give me a critique?
Oh man,
were the other lyrics like? Did they let him know that it was about him?
Nothing was like specifically identifying about him. Well, actually. Oh, but it gives away his instrument.
Oh, okay.
Oh, fuck.
So,
which I don't really want to talk about on this podcast.
So there was like one thing that, like, he'd be like, well, why would you give me a song?
Yeah. And then with like the lyrics and stuff. Yeah. And I think I made it obvious. Like, I wrote on the CD, like, for blah, blah, blah.
Hearts.
Probably not the hearts.
Because that's a little much. Like,
yeah. So I had a little bit of taste. So, I had a lot of Sharpie markers back then, so I was at least able to write it.
You write on the CD and like
So I did that, and then oh gosh, maybe I'll cut this out, but I'll just mention this. So I think this was another day. See, this is
same guy.
We're talking about the same guy, the Deified guy. Song. So I didn't even know he was at this party, but my friend
Another party?
This is a different musician party, I think. So I think my friend told me that he was there, and I was really drunk, and so I was making out with a girl, and I was wearing high heels. So it was like at a musician's house, right? Yeah. And so people were like playing music. And it wouldn't be surprising, right?
Yeah.
So while I was making out with her, I was really clumsy and drunk on my heels. I tripped on my heels. So while I was making out with her, we fell on bongo players. We just fell on top of like
both of you. Boom.
Yeah, on top of 3 people that were playing bongos.
Like they had no clue what was about to just like boom. What? How do you like recover from that? Like,
I don't even remember. I think maybe I just like rolled off them.
I'm fine. I'm gonna roll into this bush.
Yeah, no, I mean this was inside,
yeah,
like indoors.
Oh my,
it's worse, right?
Yeah. So what happened with you and like you guys just part ways after that?
And the girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're like, this is not okay. So then what happened?
And then later, yeah, my friend told me that he saw that.
He's like, what?
So, yeah, I mean, I have every right to have fun or whatever.
Yeah, no, but what a way to.
I mean, I definitely probably didn't leave the most flattering impression.
Well, entertaining.
Yeah. So, okay. But there is an epilogue to that. So I'll
circle back.
Yeah, well, I'll circle back to that.
Okay.
To the Deified guy. Okay. Something Unspoken guy. So The first line of the song is, "We played this game in another life." So it's talking about, it's referring to destiny and seeing someone again. So it's about, I used to work in a call center in Bristol, England, and Bristol is 100 kilometers west of London. So I worked there when I was studying abroad, and there was a guy who worked there.
Yeah.
We'll call him something Unspoken guy. And so
Nice name.
yeah, and so we actually came up with a code name for him.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Horatio.
Oh,
Which is now the name of my rabbit.
yes.
20 years later.
There came back. And it's like you were what's the first line of lyric or the lyric?
We played this game in another life.
And then you get a bunny, like it's named him, or no? So you keep it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even put that together. Yeah.
So he's Horatio.
Yeah, so he's Horatio, right? So I first met Horatio at this call center in Bristol, England. Then I went back to the States for the summer. Then I went back to England for another year, but I moved to London. And then I needed I had like a work visa, and I wanted like a part-time job. And so when I was applying to a certain call center, and when in the process of applying, there's just tons of call centers in London, like tons, right? And so when I went to this only one I had an interview with, I think I only applied to one too. And it was a random one I chose, and no one recommended it to me. And, none of my former coworkers from Bristol mentioned anything, right? And so I just chose it out of the blue. And then I see Horatio there. And I see him, and I'm just like, "Hey, Horatio." I didn't actually call him Horatio, right? Okay. And then he's like, "Hey, I mean, it's so nice to see you, and I'm glad you're applying to work here, and I'll put in like a good word for you." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And so just throughout, like, I developed this crush on him. And so then I write the song. We had an open mic night
to get to know everybody.
Yeah, where I think I might have performed the song for him that was about him.
So he actually heard it. Like
he might have. I don't even remember. I think I definitely played Deified that night. So, and so then I write the song. And then I was like, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to leave the country soon. And so I'm going to give him this song maybe like a week before I leave the country.
Okay.
And so I record the song. And so my recording techniques are much better at this point, and my singing's better. I would like to think so. And it's a more electronic version of the song than the way I perform it with Abe in Glasspirits. So I record the song, I make it into an MP3, and I didn't have like an MP3 case.
Okay.
So what happens was that my coworker made like this event and invited him, a guy that liked her, which she didn't like back, but she was totally being like my wing woman to like, help me out. So yeah, she's a good friend. Yeah. And so basically the plan was to cook fried chicken. And I don't know. I know it was really weird.
Is there a reason for fried chicken?
I don't know. I think I really liked fried chicken at the time, especially wings. Okay. And so we bought wings from Tesco, or I did, or whatever. And then I remember cooking. I didn't know how to cook fried chicken. Yeah,
and you batter it, right? What did you do?
I don't remember what I did. I just remember putting it on the pan. It just and so the plan was, from what I remember, I might have to like check with her again, but is that she forgot something at a store or needed to pick up something, and would go with the guy that she likes to the store, leaving me and Horatio together alone. And that would be the time that I give him the song. Okay. So all of this was planned pretty fast. Yeah. And
you're leaving in a week.
Yeah. And so I didn't have a case for the USB. key.
Because it's no longer a CD now.
It's no longer, we're progressing in time. It's no longer a CD.
MP3.
And so I didn't have anything. So I put it in one of my pill bottles, like the orange bottles with
like traveling, or like a pill, like medication.
Medication, right? So I put it in one of those. I put it in, and then and I just realized I was like, okay, cool, it's gonna have my name on it and stuff. But then
remember me, but then he's gonna see what you were taking a prescription for.
And the thing was, the prescription was for anxiety. It was anxiety medication.
I'm giving you a song about you.
And so, and then after it happened, it was like such a trip that
Did you give it to him?
I gave it to him.
Oh.
And so, oh God, now I remember something else that I did. Okay, so, later on, I released a song in iTunes, which you cannot find anymore because I had them take it down, like a year later because I'm crazy like that. So, we put it on, so a picture of like my, of the bottle of the medication bottle is like the cover of.
I feel like I remember seeing that.
Yeah, is
you kept it going.
It's the album art. Yeah,
like, I'm gonna just own this. Because then maybe he'll think it was like super, like you were thinking ahead. Like this is gonna be the album cover.
Yeah. Oh God, and I remember oh my God, I'm so dumb. I also wrapped the USB key in like a slip of paper and rolled it around the USB key, and it was like a dumb poem or saying about like Pandora's box or something.
Oh my, you were like really.
Oh my God, I'm just
You're super creative.
No, I was like trying to be like, I was like want to be deep, yeah. And so now like imagine him, he's getting like these different things. So before I give it to him, I was cooking him fried chicken and
turned out to be chicken.
It turned out to be raw chicken.
Oh no.
And I didn't cook it properly.
So it was chicken wings? Or?
Chicken wings.
Okay.
And so I thought I was done, but I
weren't.
remember him like eating it and it was like still raw. And then he wanted to be really polite and he just kept eating it.
Well,
yeah, and so like I hope he didn't get salmonella or anything like that. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
I hope Horatio's okay.
Yeah. So
he obviously cared about you a little to just eat raw chicken. So it's like, I really don't want to hurt her feelings.
Yeah. And so I gave him the medication bottle and I was like, oh, this is for you. And I didn't say anything. I was like, and he was like, okay. And then he opened it. You know how confusing that must be to like get this medication bottle.
Like, this is for me. Okay, that's odd. Like, what? And then it says anxiety.
Yeah, and then he opens it up. There's like this thing about Pandora's box, and then like a USB key,
which he can't do anything with, right? Like,
yeah, at that point, yeah. And so then I'm like, okay, and then luckily my friend and my wing woman and the wingman, they come by and they're just like, okay, yeah, let's, finish this festivity. And then the night ended. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, that's it. Like I gave him the song. Hopefully he takes the hint. And I was like, okay, that's it, right? That's like my hurrah to him. So then I completely forgot. I had to go back to work to pick up my check. And so I had like all my shit with me, like my bags.
Like you were picking up right before you left.
Close to like almost before I left. I was just like getting things in order and I was like really busy and I forgot what he said to me, but he oh man, I wish I remembered what he said, but I ran
talked to.
Yeah, I remember going to work, and then he kind of like I was trying to avoid him, and but you can't like
it was obvious that you. You have like a backpack on.
A backpack, like
your violin.
My violin. It was hard to hide, And so he ran into me, and I think he said that he liked the song, I think. But you know, like when these moments happen, when these guys kind of like confront me about these things, it's like
you shut down.
Yeah, exactly. I like get out of my body. I don't remember anything because I'm just like so nervous. But what I do remember is that when it was happening, like people that were supposed to be working around us, they were like,
something's odd.
they were like totally like trying to listen in and to like what we were talking about. It was very strange. So yeah, I actually I think when I went back 4 years later to England to visit my wingwoman friend.
Okay.
I went back to that call center.
Did you work with her?
Yeah, I worked with her. Yeah, she was my coworker, and so she knew him. That's why she was able to invite him.
Okay.
And so we. Oh, and
she
then
was
actually
still at the call center.
Yeah, she was at the call center. I came back to visit England, and I go to that call center, and then and so I asked to like see him, and so he came out to the lobby, and and then I just got really nervous, and I don't know if he was nervous or just being awkward, and okay, so there's like a delivery guy delivering water,
okay,
and so he was the water guy was signing all this paperwork on the counter.
Okay.
And so me and Horatio were talking, and it was like
in front of him.
Yeah. And it was the most awkward conversation that even the delivery guy like stopped writing and looked at us.
He's like, oh, this is odd.
It was just so weird because it was okay. I think I kind of remember what it was. It was like I was gonna go out and have drinks with my wingwoman, and I had a hard time asking him to come with us. Yeah, and I was like, it was something along the lines like, "Oh, we're going to be going out to drink," and then he was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool. It was nice seeing you." I remember it was just very vague and unclear.
Like you wanted him to invite himself or what?
I wanted him to come, and I think I was trying to invite him, but I was failing, and I was being really vague and unclear, and
we didn't know where he stood.
Yeah, and so
So was that the end of that?
So that was the end of that, but there's also an epilogue to that too.
Okay, so
so there's all these epilogues. Okay.
Life.
Yeah. Okay. So now, Charlize. Okay, so Charlize happened. I wrote Charlize when I came back from England. Gosh, I don't know. It kind of involves a lot of people. And it's basically about this one night of just like ghetto partying, and
it happens.
And well, I mean, I don't know. I guess a lot of people really like this song.
It is very catchy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And
the music video is pretty awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I don't even know why I put this on here, because I guess because it's a popular song, people want to know about it, but it's like it's so hard to talk
but you
about
never
it.
Gave it to the guy.
I ended up doing that,
okay.
So I'll talk about that in the epilogue. So it's just weird. Actually,
but there was a different meaning behind it. Like the others were more
straightforward.
And maybe more like innocent, or like this is about you from my and this like romantic, and maybe this one, I don't know if it's not romantic, but it's a little bit more about a weird time. Is that?
It's definitely that. It's about definitely touches upon some maladaptive behaviors I've had. Unhealthy ways of thinking about relationships, for sure. That's in the song, but it's not. I hopefully make it sound kind of cool. But yeah.
I mean, it's a cool song, but the lyrics, I think, are definitely not romance. Like it doesn't feel like a healthy, I guess,
Yeah.
relationship.
yeah. It definitely wasn't.
Not to say, but
yeah, no, for sure, it wasn't like the most ideal situation. But yeah, it's it was kind of like a step up in terms of like rawness and realness in a way.
Yeah.
So
you opened yourself up more, like in terms of the writing.
Yeah, in that sense. Yeah, it's I was like allowing myself to be a little dark. So okay, the reason why Charlize was weird, I did consider possibly giving the Charlize guy the song, and I wanted to be creative about it. You know, the way I had been with Something Unspoken.
Okay.
And so, now I gotta like change this slightly because I don't want to protect certain things, because I don't want to encourage violence or self-harm in any way. But so the Charlize guy got in an accident and had some trauma to the head where he got I'm trying not to reveal a lot. He got hit on the head with something. Okay. So but yeah, you're still following along, right? Okay. So then my idea was to also put the song on a USB key. Okay. Right? Okay, have you seen that game show Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Is that like Nickelodeon?
It's like on Nickelodeon. It's like this. Yeah. I mean, like at the end of the show, like the kids would run through things and like mess with props to get to a certain level. And so they would have to go through these certain rooms of the temples. And so to enter one of the rooms, the kids, the contestants, would have to like pummel through this styrofoam brick wall. So I had this idea that, okay, I can go get a frame with styrofoam blocks and I can create a brick wall, right? And so, and then my idea was to paint a target on the brick, on like the fake styrofoam brick wall. And so I would embed the USB key on a string and put it and attach it to the frame. Yeah. And then I would have the paint on the target, and I would put a note that says, "Bash your head on this target."
And then that
was my idea, right?
Yeah, that was your creative, like,
yeah. And then
but that it didn't happen. It fell through.
Well, the thing was, because it was just such a crazy time. But when I was workshopping this idea to my sister, and so she was like, "So you want the guy that you like to find the song that you've written about him by reenacting something traumatic that happened to him."
Yeah, I like how she like, are you sure?
And I was like,
maybe not. Well, and how much time are you going to spend doing that? You should just get drywall and like put it.
And I was like, no. You don't understand.
Yeah,
like,
this is true love.
I was like, listen to my reasoning behind this, okay? I was like, no one in the fucking world is ever going to do anything like this for him ever again. And he's going to remember it for the rest of his life. And then she was like, there's a reason why no one else in the world would do this.
She's like, I'm giving you an out.
Yeah. So, I didn't end up doing it. And then things happened where I just never got around to it. And the funny thing is I actually, one of his friends is a drummer and was playing in a band, and he had a rehearsal space and actually jammed this song out with his drummer friend. Oh, wow. But, they had no idea like that song was about him.
Yeah, because...
And I had a recording of it because I have a recording of everything. I'm psycho, so...
Yeah, I mean, you were going to give him a styrofoam wall that he could punch his head in with to get the song that you wrote about him. Yeah. I mean... But it was sentimental, like,
Honestly, is he kind of crazy?
I mean, it's just not something that I think would bring him to a good headspace. Like, I don't think he wants to remember that night or that day, whenever.
Oh my God. So yeah.
It was creative.
Thank you. Okay. And so the next one on our list is Lovesick Love. That's another one that some of our fans who have bought our CD, Mysteries of Rhythm, have really liked. And let me see, what can I say about it? So you know the guy that it's about. You met him. You remember him?
I don't know.
Okay. It's okay. So basically, when I was in a band with Psycho Bitch.
Okay, yes.
Okay. She's definitely okay. And for our audience, because I don't really want to talk about this person. Of course, I'm grateful for the time and effort. You know, and the experience. I think it was mutual in terms of like the musical experience that we enjoyed, but like there's things that happened off stage, all these antics, and I'm responsible for some of them. But yeah, okay, so just putting it out there, I'm definitely psycho, but I'm like an AK-47 psycho. She's like an atomic bomb psycho.
Okay, so like on a whole other level.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yes, I will agree.
Thank you. You're a good friend. So yeah. So at the time, I was in this band with this Psycho Bitch. So I just need a better name for her, but that's the first thing that came up
It's
in
just
my
like,
head.
you can't like let that part go. Like it's
Yeah.
like
So
your instinct.
So yeah, and then we played at this place in Hollywood called Howl at the Moon. That's actually the first line of the song. From a howl you heard a crying. So yeah, and so after we performed, this guy comes up to us and he just starts talking about music, and he was with a friend, and I was like looking into his eyes, I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. And then he was just like, yeah, the music kind of reminded me of, you know, he was like listing all these like 90s things. I don't know if he like said Tori Amos, but then he said, yeah, I'm a child of the 90s. And then when he said that, I'm like a huge like nostalgia nerd. I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. So really
He's
healthy,
amazing.
I know. Yeah, he's amazing. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then like I got his email. I was like, oh, and this is like a perfect way to pick up on people, like, you know, without being a total creep. You form a band and you have a mailing list.
Okay, yes.
Right? Because you're collecting their email for music stuff, not to hit on them, right? So
completely legit.
Yeah, legit. Tip. Okay.
Tip of the day.
Yeah, so let me take a swig of this. So then I got his email and I invited him. What did I invite him to? I don't know if I invited him to a show. Maybe I invited him. No. I think I invited him to the okay. I invited him to this I can get that out.
Okay.
I invited him to this mansion party because I bought these tickets from someone I didn't really know, and it just at the time it sounded cool because I was like, oh, I've never been to a mansion.
Okay,
what are these mansion parties like? I'm thinking maybe it's like a Playboy mansion, right?
It wasn't. Wait, so where you get these tickets?
I don't know, some like
somebody on the street, like
no, like I was like talking to some bitch, and then she was just like, oh yeah, I have these tickets to a mansion party, and you know they're just like $20 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I had the money. And then like I paid for Psycho Bitch and her fiance's ticket and what was it? And Lovesick Love's guy's ticket. And so yeah, and I invited him to go, and then I'm so dumb. And so I got dressed up to be really nice, and then we picked him up, and then he looked really nice, and then I was like, oh, are we on a date? Is this a date? Because he looked really nice. No, I didn't tell him that. I was just thinking that because I couldn't tell.
Like,
you know,
like he dressed up.
He dressed up. I mean,
I went to a mansion. I mean,
yeah. Oh my God, I was so dumb. We went. It was basically
Like a frat house party? Or?
No, it was I think someone just rented an empty mansion.
Okay.
And just sold a bunch of tickets. Because it's like no one was, there's like music or whatever, but no one knew each other. People were just like running around.
What a weird.
It was just weird and dumb. No one was doing drugs or anything. It was nothing wild.
No one saw a whole bunch of people that bought tickets. No one naked.
Yeah, it was just like, I was like, oh man, this is really whack.
Yeah.
But I was happy I was like with them at the time and with him, and we were just talking. And then afterwards we went to Tommy's Burgers. It's like burgers and fries or something.
Okay.
It's like they sell chili dogs.
Okay.
And it was so gross because the chili dogs were really super greasy that there was like a layer of wax on my lips. Yeah, it was bad, but
you were with him.
I was with him, and I was happy. Yeah. And then we had like some good eye contact going on, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is amazing, right? So, and we were on the way to like dropping him off, and he starts joking about Star Wars, and because he's like a Star Wars fan, and he was just talking about Jedi mind tricks. Okay. So for any of our fans, that's where the lyrics "mind trick" comes in. Okay. And then I was like sitting like facing forward, and then so he was on my left, and then he like turns to me, and then like he grabs my hand. And then
you're in like a booth or something?
No, we're in the back of the car.
Oh, okay.
And Psycho Bitch and her fiance were driving. And so he grabs my hand and he like looks at me. And then I'm just sitting there not looking at him, and I was completely frozen.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know what to do. Yeah. And I was just like oh my God.
Touched me.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my God. And then he like gently puts it down and then just like turns away. And then I was like,
that was it?
Well, because like I wasn't like doing anything. I froze.
So he's like, I guess I'm wrong.
Exactly. And then I was like,
oh, poor guy.
And I was like, and then for me, I was like, oh, it's too late, or oh, he regretted doing that, or he didn't mean to do that. In my warped mind.
Like, I don't mean to grab your hand while we're driving.
Because in my, like, warped insecurity, I was like, oh, well.
He didn't mean to touch me.
Yeah, he didn't, it was like an accident or something, right? And so, yeah, and that part in the lyric, I say, your touch is electrifying, but I'm still dead. And so that's that.
That's sad.
But I'm still dead, and I'll just think it was in my head. A mind trick from the force that brings me to the darker side. Anyways, I'm not going to sing the song because I've done enough singing on people's voice messages.
You're good? You stop?
Thank you. Okay, so then I was at a bar with Psycho Bitch. And
later.
I think you might have been there. This is another day.
Okay.
And then I just kept thinking about that night and like all those like lyric ideas. And then I just I usually don't do this. I usually don't bring a guitar to a bar, but I brought a guitar to like this dive bar. And then so I was just running around this bar with my guitar and like writing the song down on napkins. And I think Psycho Bitch might have been like annoyed with me because I was just doing my own thing. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I got to write the song.
I'm in the moment.
Inspiration is hitting me. Right. So I write the song in this bar. And so, yeah, I finish it. And it came out pretty fast. And so, and then I record it. And I'm just doing like the chords. I wish I had the recording of it. It's kind of awful.
Yeah.
It's really raw.
Yeah.
Raw. And so
do you still have it somewhere, or
it should be somewhere.
You just don't know where.
This has to be like 10 plus years ago.
Okay.
10-ish years ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I recorded the song. So again, we're in this time era. no more CDs. I put it on a USB key, and
you roll it up.
No, I didn't do. Okay, actually, this is what I did. I think I told you because you were with me because we had a gig. Remember this,
but you got to tell me again.
We had a gig at the Whiskey. Me and Psycho Bitch.
Okay, that was in San Diego.
No, this was in Hollywood.
Oh, Hollywood.
Okay,
like West Hollywood.
Yeah, West Hollywood. Okay, so
you're at Whiskey.
You're at the Whiskey, and you were there. You were like the best wing woman ever.
I try.
No, you were really good because you were like chatting with his friend that he brought to the show.
Okay, and I kind of remember this part.
Yeah. And then, like,
I guess I don't want to talk to you, but I'm doing it because I really like her. Yeah. And I tried to sell it.
Yeah. And so, I think, like, his friend was, like, injured and he was, like, in a bad mood or something.
Yeah.
But anyways. So,
or maybe he was thinking the same thing. Like, I don't want to talk to you, but I really like him.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So then, I was talking to him outside. I was trying to find the perfect moment to give him the song. So
I'm trying to remember, like, yeah, go.
Yeah. And so I record. Okay, so the song's on a USB key, right? And so again, I didn't have I didn't buy a USB. Okay, when you buy the USB key, it's like in this cardboard like flap thing, you know, you get it off the rack at a store, and then there's like this plastic wrap over it, but there was no like permanent cover for it. I should have just bought
you like MP3 holders so you can get them out.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is that like I was in a rush as usual, and I bought this like a 5-minute MP3 song is gonna be like 5 megabytes, right? And I bought what?
Well, no, but this was, so was it larger than that, or?
The USB key was like 14 gigs.
Oh, wow. You're like, so, I'm going to make sure this song can get in there.
Well, the thing is that at the time, like 14 gigs was very expensive.
Oh, yeah, no.
And so I was like, fuck.
Maybe you couldn't find one that was.
I couldn't. That's the only reason I did that. So I was like, whatever, I just need one.
I'll take this one.
And so I got it.
How much did that cost, probably?
I don't know. It must have been like
30 or
something like that.
Crazy, something
like 10, 11 years ago, probably. So,
but he needs to hear the song.
And so the thing is,
so they didn't even give you a freaking like plastic container when you bought it. Yeah,
no,
so 14 gigabytes.
I'm dumb. Okay, so then what I do is I wrap it in plastic.
Okay.
Right? Because this
plastic,
like just plastic wrap.
And
then I taped it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I love how confused you look. Okay. Then
I'm trying to remember.
Then I took an apple. And then
I cored it.
I cored out the apple.
Like you were gonna make like a
I took
bomb. Not that I know.
I cored out the apple. I stick the USB key in, and then I put the ends.
How did you core out the apple?
You just take a knife, and then you core out like the tops, the top, the one with like the stem. Yeah. You put it to the side. Then you go in there and you core out like the middle, and you just scoop it out, take it out.
Okay.
And then you
took out everything,
just the core.
Okay, just the core.
Just so the USB key can fit snugly. And then I put the top back on.
Where'd you learn this? Like, it was just, you knew.
I just,
genius.
Yeah, genius. Okay.
So you cored the apple.
I cored the apple, and then I wrapped the apple in the song lyrics.
Wait, you wrapped the outside of the apple.
The outside of the apple, yeah. So when I go to him and I just give it to him, and I was like,
so it's like a wrapped up apple with paper?
And so just so he wouldn't throw the paper away. So he wouldn't. Okay. I told him it's a song about him, and he's like, really? And so the thing is like he like unfolded it.
So he sees the lyrics.
And then he like eats the apple. And then he like eats
like
it.
I'm hungry.
And then he eats it in front of me, and
he like it's seductive.
Yeah,
watch me.
He did. He was doing it like in a really like he was trying to be like really sexy. Like I don't know.
Did you see anybody watching you guys?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. No water guys.
No water delivery guys.
Like, this is weird.
Yeah, and so
because like this is after a show.
It's after a show.
Yeah.
And we're outside.
Okay.
And that's it. And
yeah. I remember being outside.
Yeah. And so then we leave or whatever. And I think I just emailed him and I
because he was on your fan list.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, did you ever get to listen to the song? And he was just like, yeah, it was crazy sweet. And I was kind of thinking
maybe reaction.
And I was just thinking maybe he definitely meant the crazy part.
Like, oh.
Well, I mean, see, the thing is like the lyrics were about not being with him, not wanting to be with him because I was like wanted to self-sabotage it. So like the last lyric was like, I'll save you pain, so I'll miss a life with you. I'll save you pain, so I'll miss a life with you. So it was just talking about me distancing myself from him.
You have a music video for that one? Too.
No, not yet.
Okay.
We will have one day.
Yeah. Will there be a chord apple?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I like doing things that have a different subtext.
Okay.
So, okay. So we're almost done.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Mexican Baby.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about the relationship as much as possible. However, because I kind of go in depth into it with the podcast a little bit, I think. No, actually not that much. Abe goes into it. Abe loves the story, but whatever. In certain interviews that he has, and he likes to tell people. I was working at a restaurant, and then I developed a crush on a worker in the kitchen who had very limited English.
Okay.
Maybe no English at all. So, and I saw him and I thought he was really cute. And so I took Spanish for 3 years in high school, but I completely forgot all of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to like go Google something and look something up. And I just found out, just how to say, do you have a girlfriend?
Okay.
So I just go up to him and I'm just like, hola, hola. I'm like, ¿tienes novia? And then he was just like, no. And then I was like, okay. And that's all I knew how to say. And
that was it.
That was it. And then so I just turned around and walked away. Right? And so, really slick, really smooth.
Did he say anything else or that was it?
We both didn't say anything more.
That was it.
Yeah. And so then, and the next day or another day.
You Googled another like phrase.
Well, I kept doing that throughout our interaction.
Yeah.
So
and this
then,
is like before, like, did you have a smartphone? No.
I think I had a smartphone by then. This was 2011, 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. And so then I had to go to like the back storage room and get something. And then he was working there. And so he was standing by a bookshelf. And a bookshelf of like, it was like of restaurant manuals and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And so he sees me and he turns around completely, stares at the bookshelf,
like,
and then
read this.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, this fucking fool doesn't know how to read English. Why is he like pretending that he's like looking at it?
He doesn't even want to talk to you.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, he like fucking hates me and whatever. And so and so later on, like maybe another day, so one of the chefs was just like getting my attention and like got me to like talk to him, and then he was like more courageous, and so and we started like flirting with each other and everything.
The guy,
the Mexican Baby.
Okay.
So then, what happened? Okay, and so then, this wasn't. I didn't write a song about him until like a year or two later, or like maybe like after we broke up or whatever. But
so you guys dated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so one thing I did, which was in line with kind of like the way I wanted to do crafts with music. So he wanted me to make a mix CD of like rock music.
He wanted
right?
you to make
him a mix CD of rock music that I like.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. So what I did, because he liked punk and rock music, so I think I pretended that, okay, I got these collections of songs and I wrote on the actual CDR like
all the
Rolling
songs.
Stones or like Sex Pistols or whatever on the top. But actually I would replace each song with something else.
Why would you do that?
I would replace it. I would change like the title of the song to like Rolling Stones or Sex Pistols.
And what was it?
But instead it was something like, I think the first the first one was Pony by Genuine.
Why would you? But this was before you guys were dating? Or
Before we were dating.
Like, I know how to get him. Let me teach you about some music. What did you say?
And then
It gets
another
better.
song.
It gets better.
Another song that I replaced was with something. I put in Bootylicious by Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
And then I put in Let's Get It On. And then I put the CD in like a plastic case, a circular plastic case.
Okay.
And then I put it, I take tortillas and then like I cut up the tortillas and then I hide the CD in
the tortillas. Okay.
So you know how like there's books that like have cuts
But
in
these
them?
are like real tortillas.
Real tortillas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then what do you do with the tortillas? Like, do you wrap them in the bag or?
Well, okay, so the CD takes up space, right? So there's like one tortilla that has that I cut out. I had to like take
That's
out.
a lot of effort.
Well, it was
these
just
corn tortillas or flour?
I think they were flour.
Okay.
Yeah. So then it was easy. I just traced it and just cut it, right?
Okay.
With like a knife.
I didn't do it, so I'm just asking.
Okay.
And assuming.
So I put the CD in the tortillas.
Okay.
And you can tell like there's like a cut and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I see him, I just didn't say anything. And I just handed him this bag of tortillas.
Okay.
And that was it. And then he fell in love with me.
I mean,
so
bag of tortillas. Do you think he even got the CD?
I think he did.
Yeah. Did he ever mention anything about the songs not being the correct ones?
No, not really. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think he was bewitched. However, he wasn't sure about like being with me yet. Okay. And so we were like texting. We've exchanged numbers at that point, and we were texting and stuff.
He wasn't on your band fan list.
He wasn't on. Well, I wasn't in a band at that time.
Oh, this is
because I moved to Santa Ana, and I just wanted to like get my mind off shit and just work. And so, what happened? So
he was intrigued.
So I just wanted to share this little anecdote because it's another reason why I don't drink alcohol. Because one time I was home, I was partying by myself, and then so I wanted to say something to him, get him going. You know, like work.
Hey,
work on my Spanish dirty talk. Yeah. So
what did you learn?
Well, so I did not know like how to say anything sexy in Spanish. Yeah. So I was just trying to like translate things. So so I texted him and I said,
Hola, papi.
I said, quiero verte sin ropa. And for our non-Spanish speaking listeners, it means I want to see you without clothes.
Yeah.
And then he responded, and then he said,
and they sent you a picture.
No. He goes, are you drunk?
Oh.
And it was true. Borracha? And I remember looking at my clock because I was drunk.
What time was it?
8 p.m.
It was, you had gotten off work, right?
Yeah. I can relax at home, you know? So anyways.
That's why you don't drink.
That's why I don't drink. So I don't text bad, dirty talk in another language or sing on someone's answering machine. If you or someone you know is struggling from mental health or substance use, you can call SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-4375. SAMHSA is a Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. This helpline provides 24-hour free and confidential treatment referral and information about mental and substance use disorders, prevention, and recovery in English and Spanish. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and choosing our podcast. It really means a lot to us. Also, stay tuned for part 2 of Music Retrospective, which will be on our next episode. If you want to hear what happens when I actually perform one of the songs in front of the person who I've written a song about. If you want to see more of me with Coco from San Diego, you can watch our pre-show vlog that we streamed live on Twitch using the link up here or the link in the description below. On our next episode, we're going to have Marina Harris, an opera singer, vocal coach, and an outspoken advocate for the fair treatment of women and people of color in opera. Marina talks about tips on vocal care, ways for opera to survive as an art form, and mental health. Please rate and review our podcast. And if you want to keep our podcast, Pepe and Ybra, going, or support our band, Glasspirits, please join our Patreon. For just $5, $3, or even $1 a month, you can help keep us afloat. Our band name, Glasspirits, is one word, spelled GLASSPIRITS. You can find us on most social media platforms just under Glasspirits. The music you hear on this episode is our podcast theme song. It's an original song by our band Glasspirits called Something Unspoken. You can download Something Unspoken from all major retailers or stream it on Spotify. However, for this episode, we want to give you an audio sample of Mexican Baby, the song where the music video for it starred Amy Melendrez and her boyfriend and our previous podcast guest, Emmett Preciado. You can find it on Spotify or just look at the following code on this video or the link in the description below or in our show notes. Now, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of Mexican Baby.